Okay, so I'll start off with a confession. I'm a virgin. I haven't read my fiction live to an audience yet, so I want to thank you all for being here to pop this literary cherry, and please, I appreciate your patience as well. So someone asked what I was going to read, and I told them flash fiction, and they're like, "What the hell is flash fiction?" It's over in a flash. It's really short fiction. So I want to read to you a story that's about 300 words, and this was selected as a finalist for the Tennessee Williams and New Orleans Literature Festival. It's called The Ritual. The ritual called for two sons. I finally felt needed, wanted, necessary. I wanted to please Father. I didn't know he was ending the world. Father mumbled ancient words none of us fully understood. I listened, learned the words, and began mumbling along. Father seemed happy until he cracked his eyelids, saw not my brother's lips moving, but mine. Father's been even more cold, more distant, since years ago I uttered two words: I'm gay. The ritual called for two sons. We prayed over burning beeswax and resin. As Father mashed the sludge with a scarred finger, the world around us disappeared into the inky mixture. Father smeared the ink across my forehead, but kissed a prayer onto my brother's brow. The ink spread, ran down my cheeks and onto my chest. I looked up. Ink moved all around us, staining the air, slipping over our bodies, moving in curls and waves that swirled into the dim void around us. The purpose of the ritual was revealed. The reality we had left was gone, destroyed. Father reached out. Dark fluid slipped between his fingertips. He handed my brother the dish of ink. Son, rewrite the world anew as it should be. Bend every knee to my God. Without a word, my brother took the ink and disappeared into the void. We waited. Father wondered aloud why my brother did not write for him a way out of the void. He confessed after some unknown stretch of time. Father was supposed to leave. I wasn't. A sacrifice to keep the old world dead. Lifetimes passed. Ink swirled endlessly around us, spilling into the void. Father cried out to his God. I felt my forehead pry open. Some power gazed out of my third eye at him. Father stared back, cried out, but not to his God. Thank you. So the next piece I'm going to read is something that was recently published in Beyond Queer Words, which is an occasional anthology of fiction and poetry and art, all from queer writers and artists. So check it out. It's at beyondqueerwords.com. And I'm happy to be in the July issue with fellow reader tonight, Michael. So this one is called My Favorite Flower, which sounds like it's going to be really nice, right? It's not. This bed was once a garden where his skin smelled of jasmine. The first time we laid in this garden, his scent reminded me of New Orleans in spring, where I could easily come across a blooming growth of jasmine covering a wrought iron fence and lose myself in the ecstasy of breathing my favorite flower. Tonight was not a night for having him bloom. After the argument, the same one we've come back to again and again, we went to bed without the familiar acceptance of non-resolution. We both turned our backs to each other, pulling tight the bedding that covered our bodies and the distance between us. I clutched the blanket until my own clinging reminded me of his. I let go, and let him greedily pull the cover to him. He curled his body tight like a seed buried under the covers. The sticky, sweet smell of rejection and blame came up from the bed of dead leaves like the smell of compost. Each tainted breath was a reminder of all he had said. I lay there curled on my side, aware of the tension in my body, his body, the room. His breath was unchanging and sharp like a rustle of leaves. He too wasn't sleeping. Sympathy tried to take root in me. It grew upwards as I told myself that it wasn't his fault that he was so clingy, that he couldn't handle my wandering eye, my own neediness, which he feared would lead me away from him. I told myself that he really does need me, that it's not entirely a bad thing to be needed. My thoughts, crowding my mind like weeds, took me farther from sleep. I regretted telling him how much I want. I regretted seeming needy like him. Questions and considerations, things said and unsaid, sprouted as I grew. Things said and unsaid sprouted and grew as I wondered how to tend to him, to myself, and to my own need. What is the difference between want and need? I wanted so many things, but I didn't want to leave. I told myself that there was nowhere to go. Everyone I care about sees us, less me. Where would I crawl off to? Some sunless spot that I cannot afford? His undergrowth has woven into every aspect of my life. I'm entangled. I surrendered too much ground too long ago. It's too late to uproot. Under the thin veil of something like sleep, I half dreamt, but awoke as dawn came through the sheer curtains. I should have gotten up, should have saved myself. His creeping vines wrapped around me, his needy roots sank deep into my flesh to suck the nourishment from my body. The garden is beyond repair, overgrown, and taken over by what we've become, us. Before self-blame or any need to repair him could again swell in me, I hardened. My sympathy withered, but it was too late. My only means of escape is anger. I imagine myself becoming so toxic so that what he draws from me will eventually poison him, causing his flowerless vines to wither. He has become a mass of strangling vines, and I have become a monster. We sat on the edge of the bed, and the vines digging into me pulled painfully at what I hadn't felt in years, a loss of me. He looked back over his shoulder, and in his cold stare, I realized he would never again bloom for me. This is no longer a garden. This is a well, and I am trapped at the bottom. See, it's over in a flash, but it's still heavy. I intended for this one to not be quite so heavy. This is something that I wrote for the queer community. So if you're straight, you have to leave now.
No, I won't.
I'll see you later, Charlene. Actually, please stay and listen, but this is not for you. This is for the queer community. This one's called Surviving the Ghost of the Storm. When you hear the ghost, don't ask it to leave. Some people believe enough to say that you can banish a ghost simply by asserting that it does not belong, that it must go. That has not been my experience. I repeat, do not ask the ghost of the storm to leave. There's no point. Instead, what you might do is sit there. Keep breathing. You're alive, so breathe. And sit and listen. The ghost of the storm has something to say, and if you do not listen, it will howl like the wind that left you wanting in its wake. Listen calmly, and you will hear the ghost when it comes closer. Keep breathing. The ghost of the storm will creep into the cracks of your brokenness. Sit with that. Let your breath follow the ghost deeply into those shadowy spaces. You do not have to heal or release the ghost of the storm. There are countless others who have learned to live with the ghost. One of the countless will hold your hand. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to be weak. It's okay to not know if you or anyone else is going to make it. That not knowing reminds us that the ghost never really leaves anyone, even those who have seen it settled. The ghost will point to debris and devastation. Breathe. Metal that was once strong, twisted by the invisible wind, is a reminder to bend when you cannot break. Wooden beams, splintered and scattered, are a reminder that you don't have to hold it all together. Insulation that once padded your home, now ripped out, soggy and useless. Let go and breathe. The various elements of life, now scattered, await the gathering. What was once useful has become a literal mountain of trash that you don't know how or when will go. You might think of setting it on fire. You might hope they, in their official capacity, will help you with it. They'll come for it soon, the ghost will tell you. But it's a good idea to kill your hope for them to do anything. Gather yourself. Cast aside hope. Hope is haunted by fear. Hope is for those who have little left. You, my dear, live. You live with a ghost and have no need for fear, no need for hope. Your queer ancestors and elders built and rebuilt clandestine back rooms, vibrant homes, sparkling ballrooms, and safer passage in a troubled world. Their wisdom flows in your rainbow veins. Fuck hope. Have faith. Faith in yourself. Faith in your community. Gather your kind, your chosen kin, and rebuild, renew, refill your cups. This will put the ghost to rest. Breathe into and out of the unconquerable in your temporal body. Long after the storm, the ghost will occasionally raise its head from its grave in your burden, and it will stare at you until you meet it eye to eye. Sit with it. You are the space of life where growth and dreams and magic converge, and ghosts only fade. Deep breaths.